Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. We can breathe a little bit this morning, can't we? You'd think so, but unfortunately, the stories that we're going to be discussing in this video today, as much as it's not like high octane, we've signed this guy, we've got this guy, we've got this happening, it's slowed down a little bit, but we're going to talk a bit more about outgoings today, as well as discussing what is happening with Romeo Lavia, the updates on that at the moment. It's not necessarily the high octane, look at what we've got coming in. There are potential stories here today that can trigger you for other reasons on the spectrum of footballing emotions, the ebb and flow of the positives and the negatives. We're talking Lewis Hall, Romelu Lukaku, who somehow still manages to get airtime here, but it's kind of funny more than anything else. But it's also not in the context of Lewis Hall, and we're going to talk about this today. Before I do that though, if you are not yet subscribed to Shootout, mine and Eunice's new YouTube channel, the second video dropped last night. The channel is doing amazingly for the first 2 days of its birth, so if you're not yet subscribed, top link in the description. And also, whilst you're here, if you do love these early morning Chelsea news videos and you enjoy yourself today, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of the Chelsea updates. Before we get into the news regarding player exits, which is the dominant theme of today's video, what is happening with Romeo Lavia? Relax, calm down, chill. Chelsea have signed Moises Caicedo. There's been announcements. There have been training photos. There's been updates from him, interviews and everything else. And yesterday, we were led to believe that at 11 in the morning UK time, Romeo Lavia, who went back to Brussels in Belgium because that's where he's from, after he made the decision to join Chelsea, he went back to Brussels. And then yesterday, it was reported that he flew from Brussels to London to undergo his Chelsea medical. After a medical, as long as everything goes well, the player will then have media duties to go through in order to create these announcement videos that we have seen Chelsea do an exceptional job with. The Enzo Fernandez one was kind of upbeat, really positive. The Caicedo one was very wholesome. The video with his mum, the opening interview, everything you'd really want to see from a new big money signing, some humble beginnings, just a humble guy really, Caicedo. But with Lavia, I think right now it's going to be happening today in terms of a Chelsea announcement, as long as all of these rumours from yesterday that Lavia was in London at Cobham yesterday, which is in Surrey, not London. But Lavia was undergoing his medicals yesterday. I'm sure right now the media stuff is done, and I think today, Thursday, will be the day that Chelsea give an announcement. At this point in time, it's first thing in the morning on Thursday, so don't panic, don't worry. Does not mean that Romeo Lavia isn't signing because we didn't get everything that we wanted on Wednesday. So just relax, okay? It's going to be fine. Romeo Lavia, hopefully, will be registered in time for Chelsea's game at West Ham on Sunday. I cannot wait for this one, but something that I am a little bit... I don't like this, okay? But I'm going to go into the reasons why Lewis Hall being sold to Newcastle might just have to happen. Before I do that, though, I think it's better that we start with the story from Romelu Lukaku's agent, who has offered Romelu to Real Madrid. Now, Romelu might not go to Real Madrid because Real Madrid signed Joselu in Spain. I wanted to just say that one. It just sounded nice rolling off the tongue. Chelsea HQ have tweeted here, Real Madrid have offered the opportunity to sign, have been offered the opportunity to sign Chelsea outcast Romelu Lukaku by his agent. Now I'm going to try and keep my cool with this one. I know a lot of you would like to see me lose it here, but the positive energy around Chelsea is kind of giving me a reassuring calmness that even when I'm talking about things that I don't necessarily like, I can bite my tongue and not actually physically bite it because that hurts. And that would leave me screaming and probably swearing and demonetizing my videos. But Lukaku's agent, right? The problem with Romelu Lukaku, it's a big one. It's literally a massive problem for Chelsea right now because we could have sold him to Saudi Arabia. We could have pocketed 50 million quid, which is half the investment that we made. It's been widely regarded as probably the worst piece of business that Chelsea have ever done, not just because of the stinky nature of Lukaku's attitude, but also financially. we spent a fortune, a small but massive fortune, on Romelu Lukaku, and whatever offers that we have had for him, for whatever reason, either Lukaku still thinks he's too good, doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. I get it, it's not for everybody. He doesn't have to go there. He can stay at Chelsea and keep picking up a pay packet. Why would you go if you don't think you're ready for that yet? Fair enough. Inter Milan, nobody wants him there anymore. He couldn't go to Inter Milan, didn't answer his phone when things were looking like he could go to Inter. Juventus, they don't want him either. Chelsea and Juventus were working on a swap deal between Dusan Vlahovic and Lukaku, but Juventus, knowing what Chelsea are willing to spend on players, they got greedy. They wanted 40 million, 45 million euros, as well as Romelu Lukaku, which when you look at Lukaku's wages, all right, fair enough, we'd save a massive sum of money from Lukaku leaving off the wage book. It's another massive saving for the club. But Chelsea weren't convinced. Pochettino's not convinced that 40 million euro for Vlahovic is a good deal. So what do we have? We have that festering lump, Romelu Lukaku, still at Chelsea, which, with all of the amazing moves that we're seeing from Chelsea coming in, all of the amazing work that we're seeing with the squad clear out, there is a big part of me here that still gets triggered by Lukaku's agent just trying to... Real Madrid, I mean, they actually probably do need a striker. And realistically, it could work. I just don't see Real Madrid and Ancelotti going for Lukaku with all of the problems that he self-created. Do Real Madrid need his energy? Probably not. So we probably won't see anything materialise from Real Madrid for Lukaku. There's also been rumours about Tottenham Hotspur. But again, I think a lot of teams are put off Lukaku by all of the baggage that he has self-made that comes with him. It's literally dragging along behind him, weighing him down, stopping him running even more than he ever did in the first place. That was unfair, unnecessary. But the reason why this triggers me so much is because when we move here into David Ornstein's news about Lewis Hall, Newcastle working on deal to sign Lewis Hall. After multiple bids rebuffed, new offer in. Chelsea preferred Palace loan, but 18-year-old favours permanent to play Champions League football and Eddie Howe. CFC have left-back depth, and Hall grew up a Newcastle fan. Price £35 million. This is from Ornstein and The Athletic. So the problem here is you've got Lewis Hall, who's just signed a new 6-year deal at Chelsea, but there's also the club that aren't necessarily always going to be looking at these academy players and thinking, well, all right, he signed a new 6-year deal, so we have to find a way to get him in the squad. 35 million, pure profit for Chelsea Football Club again, and you've then got the player. And the player right now, if you see Newcastle coming in, who need a left-back, and that is where Lewis Hall doesn't necessarily want to play because he's a midfielder, but he can absolutely do a fantastic job at Newcastle in the left-back position. He's got a brilliant cross of the ball, loves to get forward, great tackling, just a really composed, competent 18-year-old footballer. And then he's a Newcastle fan. When he was growing up, I think his brother Connor was playing at Solihull Moors, his older brother Connor. Eddie Howe, this Newcastle project, guaranteed pretty much to play. Lewis Hall at 18 years old, Champions League football. The player is going to want this move. If there is uncertainty about what role he'd be given at Chelsea under Pochettino, because you've got Cucurella, Chilwell, Maatsen ahead of him, and then you look in the midfield, you've got Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia, Santos, Gallagher, Chukwuemeka. Lewis Hall is probably thinking, you know what? I don't know if an offer this great from a Champions League club is going to come in again. I want the move. As a Chelsea fan, we have to understand here that when Chelsea is spending all of this money on all of these players, I even missed out Leslie Ugochukwu in the midfield position as well. It just shows the depth here that we can forget players off the top of the cuff. So Lewis Hall, we're going to have to sell some players. In order for Chelsea to continue to facilitate the level of spending that we've seen, this isn't necessarily about, oh, if we don't sell Lewis Hall, then we're screwed with FFP. But moving forward, Chelsea will need to balance things out. There are going to be players here at Chelsea Football Club that we get an affinity to, that we love, that we know have got talent, but not everyone is going to make it. And when the club make all of these investments right now in Lavia, Caicedo, even if Lewis Hall was to come in and play the next 3 games and be the best player on the pitch, there is a big obligation at Chelsea when we invest in these players to make it work. Now with Lewis Hall, There's been investment in a new contract, but it's probably to facilitate being able to squeeze as much money from his sale as we possibly can. I don't like this because I think Lewis Hall is a fantastic footballer. And even though he's 18 years old, I don't just think we're talking about potential. I think Lewis Hall goes to Newcastle and becomes a regular in their first team this season, be it Champions League, Premier League or both. And I think Chelsea will have to look at some of these players. Even Maatsen yesterday, we were talking about Chelsea are looking to sell Ian Maatsen too. There are going to be players here that we will look at and be like, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. And we can't use Romeo Lavia coming in and be annoyed at Lavia. That's not right, okay? Chelsea have bought Lavia in because he's a 19-year-old with some of the highest defensive midfield potential in world football. It's a great signing for Chelsea. It shouldn't be comparatively positioned within the narrative like this, in my opinion. Lewis Hall going to Newcastle, 35 million, it's good money, but it's also one of those where it's like, I know we're going to look at this over the course of the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and we are going to be like, why did we ever sell this kid? He's unbelievable. I think Lewis Hall is a phenomenal footballer. I'd love for him to stay. I do think this move to Newcastle, though, will probably be going through today, tomorrow, this week. I think Lewis Hall is gone. Does that mean now that Chelsea won't have to sell Gallagher? It was a discussion we had on last night's video with Eunice here on GBFC. I've been really impressed with Gallagher. And I think there will be players, not just this transfer window, but January, next summer, the next couple of years, with all of these players that Chelsea have bought in, with some of the loans that we're sending players out onto, they'll come back. And there will be players that we love, that we have an affinity to, academy players. That's the key bit here, I think. The question is the ambition of the club going to align with the ambition that we've seen in recent years come into fruition, that the academy players at Chelsea have a pathway to the first team? I don't think there's very many better than Lewis Hall. And if he's being sold because that path is closed, there are big questions to be asked about that arm of the club. But we can't be really complaining about this, I don't think. Chelsea will have to sell, and 35 million for Hall is going to be another one of those that just puts any doubts about financial fair play to bed. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. To summarise, I don't want him to go, but I do get it. I see it. And that can be done in football. You can see something and not really agree with it and allow it. And I think with this, we're going to have no choice but to do so. Moving into Hakim Ziyech. Galatasary have agreed a deal with Chelsea to sign Hakim Ziyech. And then Chelsea Dodger, the Blue Dodger has posted here, Hakim Ziyech failing his medical is fake news, broadcast by the Dutch and English media. The official results will be released tomorrow morning once the final blood tests are done. The reason that Ziyech didn't sign for Al Nassr was because of something that came up with his knee in a medical. Didn't go to PSG because of Chelsea's awful ability to send emails or faxes or write letters or pigeons or whatever it was that went wrong there. Hakim Ziyech, we're going to find out today. I don't think Chelsea are going to get a massive fee for him, but apparently fake news that he failed his medical. Let's wait and see today, with Galatasaray being the club that he signs for. That's it for the Chelsea news this morning. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments down below. Lewis Hall to leave. I'm a bit gutted. Why don't we just flip and get rid of Lukaku? Lukaku, mate, just accept Saudi Arabia. 50 million. Let the bid come in. Lukaku goes and we can keep Lewis Hall. That's what I would love to see. But it's not going to work like that, I'm afraid. Ebbs and flows, ups and downs. This is football. Come on, you Blues.